There are two stories which actually changed my point of view whenever I use this word failure. In both the situation, there were one elderly person, two young people, one pregnant woman, and one child. In both cases, evacuation was successful. In one case, there was an evacuation which had an impact that I was not able to evacuate others because there was a delay in climate. There was a lot of rains, so there was a delay. Usually, after you complete your rescue mission, you reach back to your camp, and apparently you try to, have a glass of water or a warm coffee. It's pretty common that people whom you have evacuated, they meet you after you have evacuated them. In one case, pregnant woman comes to me and she slaps me and she tells me that you have not done a job which you were supposed to do because two of my kids are still in that particular village and you were supposed to evacuate them. In other incident, another pregnant woman comes to me and she hugs me and she tries to touch my feet and I'm embarrassed. And she says that, you have at least saved me and you have saved my child and you have saved my father. So I don't know what is failure, quite frankly, because even in both the cases, I did the same job. I was just a glorified driver who went over there, parked a helicopter at a certain height, and did my job, and I came back. So I don't know that. I'm not intelligent enough to even say that. Success is different. When I was young, I built a cross compiler. My only and whole motivation was greed, is to make money, as much money I can make. And I kind of made quite a wealth at an age when I actually wrote that cross compiler. I don't know how many of our computer science engineers over there. That was an era where Microsoft and Intel were coming up, and HP 9000 and mainframes used to be the one, and they will not talk to each other, and they will definitely not talk to the Intel environment. So I basically, in a very simple way, actually wrote a code that you can actually, all these three can talk to each other, and I made tons of money. Maybe that was the need. The idea was that somebody, a very cool investor came to me and he said that, Ravi, if you are able to do that, then you can make tons of money. So that was my success, and that success was totally governed by greed. I crave for two other successes, and both these successes, I have not arrived at that state of success, but I exactly know how to define that particular success. First, I want to change the definition of employment in India. I can't bear this particular fact we glorify services industry in India, where 19-year-old kid, whether female or male, they key in whether they are in bank or whether they are in airport or whether they are in airline or whether they are in healthcare industry. They key in 4 or 5 keys again and again and again just to gain bread and butter and to pay rent for their house. I don't think that should be the definition of employment. I think definition of employment should be where you use your brain. If this is the definition of employment, then by this kid, 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid, they will actually reach an age of 34 or 35. They will get only 2 things. One is an arthritis in right or left hand and a muscle memory. So I'm striving to bring that particular change. And I need, and I pray, because I don't have a courage, and that's why I'm not a leadership material, and I'm saying with no humility, I know that I am incapable to become an entrepreneur. So anyone who is an entrepreneur over here, male or female, please do mass entrepreneurship. Create more entrepreneurs, create more jobs, because that's what this country requires. That's one. So I'm just trying to pass on this particular message, and if just by hearing me, some of my products, if they can actually create jobs, that would be my first success by changing the definition of employment. Second thing, which I hope this country will gain soon, is direct democracy. That means every citizen, their definition of democracy will not be the vote which they cast, but they should have a voice, and that voice should be recorded during the tenure of that particular government, and irrespective whether the policies or manifesto of that government retains or believes in that particular voice, but that voice should be retained, and that voice should be heard, even if it is a voice of one person, and one person can also be called as a minority. Both these aspects can be done by platforms and tech platforms. This I can proudly say, both these are my patents. They are getting into a product zone, and hopefully when they will become product, then I can say that, this would be my success, first success.
How lovely. How lovely. A quick question to Ravi. So Ravi, taking off from the AI, ML, from a marketeer standpoint, what do you think is the impact of technology on leadership?
Most leaders are struggling, and they will continue to struggle between privacy and responsibility. Their charter will be to ensure that privacy is strengthened, responsibility will test their leadership skills. That's one. Second thing, they will struggle between localization versus globalization, because platforms are reality now that will seriously test their strategy, their leadership strategy of localization versus globalization. It is already happening. It has tested at least top 5 biggest companies in the world, and it will percolate down and it will continue to test that. That's the second one. Third thing, ability to diagnose and do forensics of any kind of corruption, okay, would seriously test existing corporate governance. It will not be that easy that you call few people and you listen to them and then you agree or disagree. So hierarchical and committee structure of leadership when it comes to corporate governance will be tested. Fourth one, which is a difficult one, I think it will happen. I may be wrong, but I think I'm quite bullish it will happen. And that would be the biggest test of a leadership. Morality will be strongly tested. Morality of at least in next decade, because I don't see average age of a leader being reduced to 22 years in next 12 years. I don't see that happening. And since I don't see that happening, their inherent morality to pass judgment, to trust, to create processes, to create teams will be put to test like it has never been put to test ever. That would be the impact of tech.